Well, hi guys.
This is how all my Q&As go.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much for wanting to be here with us today, and thank you for wanting to talk to me.
I'm really excited. Yeah, it's so nice to be in a room with people gathered together to watch a film. And thanks to the Tribeca Film Festival for making it.
Yes, thank you so much for allowing us to do this.
I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited to talk to you because
I'm also nervous.
Really? I'm a little nervous too.
These people screaming is kind of weird.
It's better, you know, them screaming than if they're just sort of like skeptically silent.
Yeah.
It's preferable that they're doing this.
It's great.
So it's nothing you're doing, but we know each other because we're both part of the Aaron Dessner, the National Cinematic Universe, which is a lovely, joyful place.
It is.
And I wanted to say right off the bat that your short film for I Am Easy to Find was one of the most influential things I've watched. It really inspired me in ways that I can't possibly overstate, and I've watched it so many times, but every time I watch it, I go through every single range of the most intense types of emotions. It's really, if you haven't seen it, it's such a beautiful film.
Such a gracious person. Thank you, Taylor. But we're here to talk about you and your directing. So I want to get into the song and the history of the song, which has like its own magical journey. But before that, okay, obviously you have such a strong ability to connect with people through your music and your story writing in your music. So proven, so strong, so there. Why, how did you get to directing? Like what drew you to it, or what made you feel like you had to do it?
Well, I've been very fortunate to be able to be on sets of music videos for 15 years. So that started when I was about 15. And I was always very curious. I was always looking and learning and trying to absorb as much as I possibly could. And I think I started to sort of venture into the edit. A few music videos in, I started just going into the edit and making changes and meddling. It started with meddling, and it went from kind of meddling with the edit to then writing the treatments for the music videos. So that started a while ago. That was almost 10 years ago that I started writing the treatments for the music videos, but then outsourcing the directing to, you know, reaching out to a director and saying, hey, this is the concept I want to do. Because, you know, the visual aspect of my music has always felt like a very natural extension of the storytelling and the writing. And I'll have images in my head most of the time, right, as I'm conceptualizing the song. I actually ended up making the jump from writer to director when I was getting ready to make a music video called The Man. You've seen it, that's helpful. It's been
an amazing start. Like what an accomplished out of the box, like with amazing concept and well done on both sides of the camera.
Thank you. It happened almost out of necessity because my first instinct was to write the treatment, send it out. I wanted a female director to direct it, and all of my favorite female directors were booked and busy, which is great. We love that. That's fantastic. And so I just figured maybe I could do it. And so my first call was to Rodrigo Prieto, who is the incredible cinematographer who I cannot believe I got to work with my first time directing, and I learned so much from him. And I've been very lucky to work with people over the years that just inherently, watching their empathy or watching their sort of the introspective way that they perceive life and then reflect it on camera, like Lana Wilson. She directed this documentary called Miss Americana, and you guys are amazing. And she was, being around her, you know, we'd spend hours and hours where she's flying the wall, filming the recording process over my life, but we would also just talk for hours, and I learned so much from her, and I know I can always text her if I have a question, and I'm very lucky to have people who have helped me educate myself and learn about this, and I'm constantly still learning. But once I started directing music videos, I didn't want to not do it. I found it incredibly fulfilling.
And it seems like such a natural extension of what you do as a singer-songwriter.
It is. It feels like it felt very natural to extend writing a song and visualizing it in my head to, you know, making a shot list and storyboarding it and picking who we wanted as the head of each department and who would help put this puzzle together. And it's been a different approach for each one. We shot the Cardigan and Willow music videos.
I'm going to be so depressed when I bring up my work and this doesn't Okay, as a director who was like a total wannabe musician and thinks that music's really the higher art because it's really much more connected to energy and like it has a more spiritual thing to me, it's like more direct. Like, I'm still curious, like, you have so much power, creative power, like you really can fulfill yourself. What was it about film that isn't in music?
That's a really interesting question. I think that I always sort of thought that it was something that other people did, and I just would be around it, and I in my head I'd think, oh, I love that they did that. I would have done that differently, and so the lists of things I was absorbing became so long that eventually I thought, I really want to do this. And I think I had this imposter syndrome in my head saying, no, you don't do that. Other people do that who went to school to do that.
I didn't go to school.
Oh, that's fantastic to know that. That makes me feel better. It's also
a pirate ship. It's a big pirate ship.
It's been an amazing, don't you feel like it's such an interesting exercise in trusting your gut instinct? Because there are so many decisions you have to make. And saying I don't know or I'm not sure yet really isn't an option most of the time.
It can be. It's said the right way. I want to say that.
Really?
Because we had a phone call and you said a director needs to have an answer every single time and know what they're asking.
Maybe that's just being a female director.
Do you feel like often, especially with actors, the best thing to do is ask the question back, maybe sometimes?
Yeah.
Or also like doubt can be super powerful.
I think that I definitely see that in your work. You have such an introspective sort of patience with the way that you approach humanity.
It's funny. Yeah.
Really?
Oh my God, I'm the worst.
Oh, I would never imagine that. You seem like you'd be the best.
I'm very impatient with everyone behind the camera and incredibly patient with everyone in front of the camera.
Yeah, to me it seems like you put implicit, profound trust in your actors, and to me it reads as if you treat your actors as the collaborators that they are.
Yes, and I think it's very true with your piece, and we're gonna talk more about that later. But your relationship with your actors did seem very symbiotic, to say the least, and I really love what was going on between you and Sadie in the story, and just the energy. Well, maybe let's talk about the song and the short film. Because there's if you could entertain me, there's three things I'd love you to try to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
One is, you told me a bit about the journey of the song. It's really kind of magic, and I love how in one way, you don't control what you make, right? Or how it gets made, or how it goes out in the world. And then the song is another part of a story, point two, the way that you've taken control over the ownership of your work. And this amazing... truly historic, radical thing that you're doing, that this piece is a part of. And then there's a lovely thing. I watched your commencement speech. While we're texting, all of a sudden, while we're texting, it's like then the internet said that, oh, Taylor Swift is doing the commencement speech, and everyone was like, how is she doing that and texting me? Anyways, you're a pretty cool customer. So you said something that I'm sure everyone here knows, but it was really struck me as like being the youngest person in every room for over a decade, and that was constantly being like told what to do. And I was like, right, I want to make a film about that, actually.
Really?
I mean, what a crazy thing to be you going through all that. And it seems like it gave you such a sensitivity to youth, younger people who have the power that aren't being given it. And then this film seems to be a lot about when you're in this strange youth situation that's both powerful and strong and has this vibrancy, but also has this deep vulnerability. And I was like, oh, that's what she's kind of talking about, being the youngest person in the room. You had so much vulnerability, you were a child, and you had so much power, and how strange. So, okay, long questions.
No, it's an amazing question. Honestly, that's such a thoughtful question and a thoughtful way to put it. I remember talking to you on the phone a couple days ago when you were talking about what inspires you to want to make a film, and you said something like, I only want to make a film if I'm the only person who could make it that way, with your insight and your experience. And I feel like making this short film, I think I gave myself permission to completely make that jump into making a narrative short film, because this is not a music video. We approached everything differently. And shooting it on 35mm, and all the decisions that were made to create these characters and dive into this world. I really do write about girlhood a lot. There's a lot of girlhood woven through my music. And I'm very fascinated, and always have been, since I was in my mid-20s, with this phase of becoming a young woman where you're this very fragile and vulnerable age. I think 19 and 20 is such an interesting and profound experience for a young woman, because it's like you have one foot still in girlhood, and yet society and the world is telling you you're an adult, and there are so many opportunities for you to lose your girlhood and have it taken from you, and it's inevitable that happens when you become an adult, but the ways in which it can happen when you are in some ways still so unformed as just this piece of clay, this person who hasn't cultivated their life yet. They don't have, they don't have a coffee machine in their kitchen. They don't have these tastes that adults 10 years older or more have cultivated at that point, because we spend our 20s searching and being so curious.
It also seems like what you're always talking about is like your boundaries of yourself and your selfhood versus what you're giving someone else.
Absolutely. I think that what I wanted to make was a film about an effervescent, curious young woman who ends up completely out of her depth. When you're like walking into the ocean and it's so fun, the idea of going out so deep that your feet don't touch the ground, but you could get swept away. And I wanted to show that extremely intense thing that can happen when you go out into the world and you're so curious about all these experiences, and you're so, this character, she's so idealistic. And that is actually one of the forces that I think brings these two characters together, because I see him, I named them her and him. So he is a character who has been through things, has had experiences with humiliation and setbacks and shame and bad news and bad luck, and these experiences have sort of made him feel like there's a disconnect between him and her. But these qualities in her, this idealism, this fresh, wide-eyed approach to life, just bounding into new experiences, is also such a draw. There's something so, I wanted it to feel like them falling together was inevitable, and them falling apart was just as inevitable. And the things that made them come together, I wanted it to feel like there were these forces at play. And they could not stop from colliding, and they couldn't stop from being dismantled. So, I don't know.
You're really such a writer's brain. That's so beautifully put, and I think you really achieved that in the piece. And you really remind me of talking to a writer-director, because you're just all about the story and what you want to communicate with these people's inner lives and emotions. That's so. That'll go far.
Oh, thank you. I have this. I love this John Cassavetes quote where he says, "I've never seen a helicopter explode in the sky. I've never seen someone blow someone's head off. So why would I make a film about that? What I have seen is people destroy themselves in the littlest of ways." And I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.